Good afternoon to our Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gary Griffith, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, my colleague, the Honourable Glenda Jennings-Smith, Chairman of the Police Service Commission, Ms. Bliss Sipasad, Executive Heads of Divisions of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, First Division Officers of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Second Division Officers of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, specially invited guests, graduating officers of Batch 2 of 2019, parents, guardians, family members, well-wishers, members of the media, good afternoon. Today, once again, the privilege and the honor is mine as the Minister of National Security to be asked to bring greetings and a few words of advice to our latest batch of intake into the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Batch 2 of 2019. Men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, as you enter this esteemed profession, a profession where we have worked hard to once again bring confidence and the support of the people of Trinidad and Tobago with respect to support for our Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. I ask of you, remember today, remember all of the hard training you've gone through, and more particularly, remember the reasons why you have chosen to enter the police service. And live as you go forward under the watchwords to protect and to serve. I ask of you, remember today and the pride that you feel graduating in your pristine uniforms before your family and friends with a great sense of pride, and let that be your guiding light throughout the rest of your careers in the police service. Because today is a special day. And I remind you of the mantra and the watchwords of protect and serve, because those are our Tobago, but service. And I want to spend a bit of time on service today. I ask as you go forward, you serve with integrity. You serve with courtesy. And you serve with a new. Because you see, all too often in Trinidad and Tobago, these are key items that sometimes are forgotten and sometimes not adhered to. But you, the newest recruits passing out into the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, you do so at an interesting time in our country's history. You do so at a time where the Commissioner of Police has today made a good and an accurate call for the protection of an independent body. That body is the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And that is part of your duty. Serve with pride. Serve with integrity. Never let the independence of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service come into justifiable question. Because you see, there are those in our society that will do all that they can to wear away and to erode the independence of the many institutions charged with the constitutional responsibility in our country to protect us, the people. And they attack it without justification and very often relentlessly. So today I stand with you once again. As I said at the beginning of my tenure as the Minister of National Security, I will stand as the police service's bulletproof vest. I will be in the front line doing all that I can to advocate for you, the men and women of the police service, and to protect you as best as I can once you operate within the parameters of the law. So I join with the Commissioner of Police, not as the Minister of National Security, but as a proud and patriotic citizen of Trinidad and Tobago who's been given the privilege to serve in a different capacity in the protection of the independence of the police service. And I stand here without fear of contradiction that since assuming the office of Minister of National Security in August 2018, I have always walked a very careful line, very cautiously, and there is not a single instance that can be drawn where it can be justifiably said that I have acted with any impropriety in my dealings with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service or any other body in Trinidad and Tobago. But I also want to caution you, as I have learned the lesson, the hard lesson myself, and seeing it pan out once again within recent times. When you take on status quo, and you challenge status quo, and more importantly, you attack fearlessly the heart of criminality and corruption in our society, there are consequences. There are personal consequences. But do so fearlessly. And I can say, without fear of contradiction, that is how I have been conducting myself and carrying out myself for my whole adult life. And in particular, since being called to service in September of 2015. Because I was driving a lot of anti-corruption matters and doing so fearlessly, despite the many threats that came my way and the many attempts to undermine me. And when the Honourable Prime Minister saw it fit to ask me to lead national security in August of 2018, it introduced a whole new concept. And I say here today to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago and to you, Batch 2 of 2019, I repeat, when you take on criminality and you take on the status quo of corruption, people will attack you. People will try to undermine you. But remember these words as you go about your duties, as you go about your investigative duties, and you're called upon to protect and serve Trinidad and Tobago. Always take note of the people who make the most noise. Very often there are sayings that we learn in life that are truisms. The empty barrel makes the most noise. I have been very cautious in my term as Minister of National Security. I only speak when absolutely necessary, and I choose my words very carefully. I don't call names unless absolutely necessary. Police officers, men and women, as you go forth into your careers, always take note of, as they say, who the cap fits, let them wear it. That when something happens and there's a reaction, look at those who jump out front, reacting, screaming, and making all sorts of accusations, and always question why, what is their agenda, and always remember the words on the 22nd of January 2020, when I stood here as a proud citizen of Trinidad and Tobago and told you, knowing that when you take on corruption and criminality, you draw attention and attacks to yourself. And as someone given the responsibility to provide leadership in this country, I stand here once again without fear of contradiction and tell you, carry out your duties fearlessly. That is how I have conducted myself. Always, as you go out there, stand up against corruption, because the corruption will come. There are the criminal elements and the corrupt elements in our society who will try to engage you as police officers throughout your career. Never, ever take that decision or that option to go down that slippery slope, because once you do yourself that injustice once and you compromise yourself, there is never any coming back. And it is a difficult life to lead one of principle. And don't look for people to understand it or for the appreciation. Just do it, because it's the right thing to do. As I met with the heads of security again today at our weekly meeting, one clear topic of conversation came out once again. And it's worth repeating to all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. All you have to do for this country to get better is every single citizen, every one of us, as you wake up in the morning, make the right decisions throughout the course of your day. Because you see, if every single one of us, civic-minded and right-thinking citizens, do that, we would have already moved in the right direction. So men and women, you've chosen a noble profession. You've come in at an interesting time where there's a renewed energy in the leadership of the police service, but at a difficult time. Because the truth is, in our history, now is one of those times where the leadership at national security, which includes the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service or Defense Force or intelligence services and other services, prisons and immigration, we are taking on the criminals frontally and the corruption. Because you see, the criminals in Trinidad and Tobago don't always run around in the stereotypical framework of what people think criminals are. Very often, there are those who dress themselves in the suits with the ties and the fancy attire and dine in the finest restaurants and find their places at the highest levels of society, mingling amongst us, who engage in the criminality and encourage the criminality. And it falls on you and your broad shoulders and strong backs from today go forward to support the police service, an independent body, in rooting out the corrupt and the criminals in our society from top to bottom. And I leave you with my mantra as Minister of National Security that I adopted from day one. No one is above the law, and you have the full support of the civic-minded and right-thinking members of society who want a better Trinidad and Tobago and who will support you as you go about your duties, supporting the Commissioner of Police and the men and women in the police service who are trying to do what is right for Trinidad and Tobago. And I give you and the country my assurance this afternoon on this auspicious occasion with a renewed sense of pride and hope that I stand right with you in the front lines, always ready, willing and able to tackle the corrupt in society and the criminals in society frontally, fearlessly. I wish you well, and I thank your family members who've come out here today, who have supported you throughout your training after you made that decision, and who have stood by you, and who will basis for you to go out there and come home safely. And I join them in their prayers. And I thank you. I thank you as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago for taking the decision to give your service in the noble profession of being a policeman or a policewoman and putting forward your best foot as you serve Trinidad and Tobago, protecting and serving us. Welcome to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Thank you.